Welcome to Conversations with Malik podcast show. I'm glad to have you and thank you all who are listening and watching this show. This podcast is about the stories of transformation of regular people during the basic and struggle and pain of everyday life. Everyone has a testimony. We all have survived the darkness. Now let's talk about how we got to the light so we can help our brothers and sisters who still haven't overcome their demons. But guess what? We all have devils on different levels. So through conversations, we use the tools of insight to light the path of hope. Let's have a chat and start running from our issues. If we live through it, then talking about it probably won't kill us. That's what we're doing. Talking, crying, looking inward so that we can grow outward is the theme of the show. The caterpillar transforming into the butterfly is the goal and purpose of this podcast. When you talk about you, I learn about me. Iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel, so that we can cut through the fog of despair into the hope of today. Welcome to Conversations with Malik. Before we start today's show, please follow us and check us on our website, convoswithmalik.com, convoswithmalik.com. There you will find all our social media links. You can catch us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff, man. Check us out. Check us out. Check us out. And I decided to come on Facebook Live today. There's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. And you know, when I come on, I'm not on playing and joking around. These are real serious times we live in. And we need to inspire each other and help each other grow so that we can see things, so that we can be more effective. And I'm hoping everybody can hear me good. If you can hear me good, please give me a thumbs up. All right, so that I'm not just on here not sounding good. So if you can hear me good, let me know. I'm kind of breaking tradition and I'm coming on Facebook Live. Hey, Laverne, what's going on? And so my topic of today that I wanted to talk about is mind your business, then create one. We need more business people. We need more power in the Black community. And we talk about having issues in our community, but the number one issue is a lack of financial independence. A lot of our problems can be solved if we had more business people. Business will then give us a more economic base, and having an economic base allows a community of people to target politicians so that those politicians could work on our behalf when it comes to government and policy changes that we can affect in a legislative branch. So I have 5 things that I want to talk about, and this is for anybody who's looking to start a business, that want to get into business. I have 5 pointers that I'm going to talk about today that I feel will be real helpful, and this is coming from my experience. This is from my experience. Now, number 1 is I want you to answer a question, and this is a question for everybody, and don't try to answer this question right away. Take some time in answering this question. It's a 2-part question. What am I good at? What am I good at? And what is my passion? Because I have a saying, if I'm living in my passion, then I'm living in my purpose. If I'm living in my passion, then I'm living in my purpose. If I'm living in my purpose, that's going to automatically eliminate a lot of the bedevilments that people suffer from. If I'm living in if I found my passion, I'm living in my purpose, that means that I feel like I'm useful, that I have some use in society and in life. I'm going to have the spirit of inspiration because I'm doing something that I want to be doing. Now, follow me here, because sometimes We can be on a job, and I'm going to get to this later. We can be in a field that we don't necessarily love or we don't necessarily care about, but it's a job that's helping us take care of our family, send our kids to school. We can learn how to love and appreciate jobs that we're on. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. So I'm going to get to it later, how we can build our side hustle until it becomes our main gig. But that's not the step that we're at. The step that we're at is me doing an inventory, taking some time and asking myself, what am I good at and what's my passion? What I'm good at and what's my passion, they have to meet and they have to coincide. Because guess what? Some of us are passionate about things that we're not necessarily good at. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Some of us like to sing, right? Look, I'm a good shower singer, man. I can get busy in the shower. You hear me in the shower and I'm blowing, son. I can get busy. But guess what? I'm not going to get signed to Sony or to Bad Boy, right? And I actually like singing. It makes me feel good. But I'm not going to make a career out of singing. So I'm just using that as an example. So what am I good at and what's my passion, right? Once we can connect those two, then the next question is, how much money will it cost me to start out on the basic level in that field? How much money is it going to cost me just to start out on the basic level in that field? Right? So if it's $5,000, if it's $10,000, okay, now watch me here, follow me. If I have a regular 9-to-5 job, I can start saving towards the goal of starting out that business. That's the beginning of the passion. That will outright give me a purpose, because now I'm working towards something. And it's not just going to feel like Groundhog's Day. Anybody out there ever just feel like, every day's the same, like it's Groundhog's Day every day? Come on, talk to me. You're getting up, you're doing the same thing day in and day out. Let me tell you something, that leads to a lot of frustration. Even if you got kids and you gotta take the son to football practice again and gotta take the daughter to dance again, and for some of us that are a little older, some of us, I'm in my 40s, some of us that are older, sometimes life gets so full and it becomes about everybody else, and I get forgotten in the whole process of everything. And guess what? Malik is important. Listen, I love my kids. I love my children. But guess what? I'm important too. And I'm far from a selfish dad. I'm a giving dad. Listen, I'll give my life for one of my children. I would. But sometimes in them being raised and people are going to schools and different jobs and all of this and taking on all these activities, what begins to happen is I begin to get lost in it all. I'm pointing out the pattern of life that begins to happen, and then I begin to forget what I'm good at, what's my passion, what I'm capable of doing, and as a result, I lose my purpose. And I start to become this robot that's on autopilot. And then the purpose of my life is just serving a purpose in other people's lives. And yes, so somebody that's listening to me might say, yeah, well, Malik, the purpose of life is kind of being a servant to others. And, yes and no. Yes and no. Yeah, I receive happiness by by doing for others and being there for other people and praying for them and picking up sister so-and-so and taking her to the hospital, or picking up brother so-and-so, or doing this for this one. Yeah, I receive a semblance of worthiness, and I receive blessings from those things. But I gotta make sure I don't forget about what makes Malik tick. So when I find out, step one is answer the question: what am I good at and what's my passion in trying to build the business? 2, how much money will it cost me to start out on a basic level in that field? 3, if you don't have a job, go all in that business field. But if you do have a job, my suggestion is build your side hustle until it becomes your main gig. And you can do it. This is how you do step 3. Step 3 is I have to save up enough money that will sustain me for a period of time when I decide to leave my main business and go all in, to leave my job and go all in on my main business. I got to make sure my main business gets to the point where it can support me and provide for 3 things: food, clothing, and shelter. Food, clothing, and shelter. If my new business venture can't provide for those things, I cannot leave my job yet. I see people get jammed up over this. People come to me, yo, Malik, I'm frustrated. I'm tired of working for somebody else, this and that and this. Yeah, I get you. But I'd rather you have some employment and be making some money than be out here broke, because you're really going to be frustrated. Now, if you are working at a job and your goal is to retire from that job, that's fine. You can say, okay, I got 10 years left on the job. Okay, when I get to 6 years, I'm going to start building my business plan, because there's life after working the 9 to 5 that you're working at. I know some very successful people who they retired from a job and now they're doing good in business. Don't believe the myth is that if you grew up working for somebody and you retire from a job, that you can't start your own business and do well. That is not true. Because if you work at a 9 to 5 and you're in management position, you can take those management skills that you applied from being a manager at MTA, for being a supervisor at Con Edison, from being the head of a department of a division at Verizon. You can take those skills and apply it in business. You could take those skills and apply it in business, but you just got to get the finances. And business is quite different. You got to take risks. One thing I will say, if you're really considering opening a business, I would suggest 2 things. Have a strong spiritual connection. Have a strong, listen, I live a spiritual way of life. Have a strong spiritual connection with God or whatever it is that you believe in, and don't be afraid to take risk. Step 4, save your profits and apply them towards your expansion plan once you've opened a business. I watch so many people that when they open business, they try to take their profits and they spend it on materialistic things. If you listen, I've been in business for a long time. So if you see me and some of the things that I post, I don't do it for ego. I really, honestly don't. Seriously. I've been doing well for a long time. So when I post things about the exterior or materialistic things that I might purchase or do, I'm actually sharing my life, trying to give hope to somebody else that could possibly be in a dark place. But I'm in a position where I have a little extra money to spend on some things. Now, I also don't, there's a lot of vices that I don't have. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't gamble. I don't buy a lot of clothing. I just don't. So a lot of my extra money goes towards things that I like that might be a little more expensive. Then the fifth step, and this is the most important, and most people fail in business once they start up their business. And I gave stats before about, how many businesses fail within the first year, first 2 years, the first 3 years, first 5 years, and 83% of all businesses fail within the first 7 years. And I'm going to tell you why. And people they'll give you all kinds of reasons, like it's poor business planning and things like that. You want me to tell you why most businesses fail? And this is the fifth step in the process. Don't allow your mind to form judgments about people or situations you can't change, for it will drain your energy and make you less effective. So let me tell you something. I'm only allotted a certain amount of energy in the course of a 24-hour day. There's only but so many things that I'm going to be able to carry out during that day. If I'm spending 2 hours talking about Tanika and how she's cheating on her man and she get on my nerves because she's jealous of me, I'm spending another half hour talking about my cousin Byron, how he needs to get a fucking job and move out of my grandmother's house, right? And I'm popping off about this and that. Then I'm spending some other time, minding somebody else's business, trying to change this guy that I shouldn't be with, or trying to change this woman that I should have left a year ago. Right now, I'm just talking real. I'm really not trying to be funny. Honestly, seriously, we spend too much time focusing on people and situations that I don't have the power to change. I need to be taking all of that energy and locking in to what my passion is, and honing in on the first step of this process of what I'm good at. I'm telling you, I'm not preaching, not a preacher. So if you're listening and you figure, I'm turning him off, who he think he is. Listen, my life, listen, the truth is the proof and the proof is the fruit. And the fruit of my life speaks for itself. The fruit of my life speaks for itself. If you don't know me, then you just don't happen to know me, or you just know me through Facebook. Listen, I'm doing well because I apply these principles. And I'm not on here joking around and playing around. We got lives to save. And we need to be more empowered. And people who have followed the steps that I followed, and I'm going to post them. I'm going to post these 5 steps in the comments. But when I talk about mind your business, then create one, I'm not just talking about minding my business in the sense of that I'm not being aware of what's going on around me. I'm talking about being a miner. You know what miners do? Miners dig. They dig for the treasure. So when I say mind your business, I want you to dig for the treasure in you. Because the treasure that's in you is actually your truth. And I know what it's like. I'm not trying to be funny up here. I ran from years from my truth. And I suffered and it was painful. But see, one thing about God is when God has a plan for you, you can run as long as you want. You won't die. And you can try to kill yourself. And you won't be able to die. God has a plan for you. You're special. There's a light. There's a light there. We used to sing it in choir practice. this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. All of us are great. And you're great. And right now, if you're suffering from depression, a lack of self-confidence, if you're miserable and you're making other people around you miserable, because hurt people are the masters of hurting other people. Why? Because you need some company in your misery. Why? Because misery is lonely, and misery is always looking for people to accompany it, because it's lonely. It's a lonely state of affairs. And I got to focus, man. I got to lock in. I don't have, and I'm going to wrap this up with this. And I'm going to go back through the steps because there's one other thing I want to touch on, and then I'm going to leave you. I don't have the resources to change other people. I can affect change. And most of, yes, Butch, what God has for you is for you. Most of the change that I need to be affecting on other people is through the example of the change that has taken place within me. Listen to me. If you want to have an impact on your children are watching. There's a saying, I'd rather see a sermon than hear a sermon. It's easy for me to point the finger, but it's harder for me to point the thumb. But the thumb is more important. Try using your hand without a thumb. You can use this hand without this finger. This finger that you use to point at everybody, to point out everybody else's shortcomings and character defects. But try using this hand without a thumb. And I need to be focused on the thumb. I need to be locked in right here, having a singular. See, doing the one isn't hard. When I'm trying to do multiple things, it's hard. When I'm focusing on the one God, one goal, one passion, maybe just have one goal for the day. Try to really simplify your life. And don't have a whole bunch of extravagant goals. And I think what happens is some of us really set unrealistic expectations, and unrealistic expectations is the food for disappointment and depression. Because what happens is I don't make expectations based on spiritual guidance. So some of us want to be successful, but we don't want to be spiritual. I tried it. And we look at, and when I say spiritual, I mean whatever is spiritual to you. I'm not telling you what spirituality is. That's a journey for each individual unto himself, to be truthful to thyself. That's why our ancestors wrote on the tombs in ancient Kemet, know thyself, and to thy own self be true. I have to stop bending and shaping and shifting so that everybody around me will be okay with me being who and what I am. You know what happens after years and years of shaping and shifting and bending and giving in and drawing a line in the sand and then stepping back and drawing another line so that somebody else that's around you can be okay with being in your life? You do that long enough and you won't know who you are anymore. You won't know who you are. Your kids can suck you dry. Your cousins, auntie, even your parents can suck you dry. And you won't have nothing left. And then you won't really be good to anybody else. And you won't be good to yourself. And that is the beginning of failure. That's the beginning of failure, people. That's the beginning. You got to check me out on my website, because the team doesn't always want me coming on Facebook. So people are hitting me up and they saying, Malik, I don't see you on Facebook. You're not doing the show. Facebook isn't the show. You got to go to convoswithmalik.com so you can listen to the show. All right? So I'm going to go back through it and then we're going to close. Mind your business, then create one. Right? So answer the question. What am I good at and what's my passion? 2, how much money will it cost me to start out on the basic level in that business field? 3, if you don't have a job, go all in that business field when you start out. Go all in. If you do have a job, build your side hustle of the business that you want to get into until it becomes your main gig. Don't leave your main gig until you have saved up enough money for 3 to 6 months of food, clothing, and shelter money. Don't leave your main gig. If you can save up more, fine, but you need a little cushion. If your side gig that's now becoming your main gig can't provide you, it's not bringing in enough money to provide you with food, clothing, and shelter, then you can't leave your job until it gets to that point. Okay? Step 4, save your profits and apply them towards business expansion. Don't be buying no Gucci and no Louis. And yo, Malik, I see you with Gucci on, and I see you buying Range Rovers and different cars and building studios and houses with pools. Yeah, I'm to that point. Be where you're at. And sit next to your still leg. Like they used to say to us, back on the boulevard, don't talk to me about dinner until you finish your breakfast. That's an old school one. Jay-Z even said that in one of his records. I remember when I was talking to one of the old guards and I wanted him to hit me off with some stuff. I was trying to step my game up in the hustle game. And he looked at me, he said, Malik, finish your breakfast, then we'll talk about lunch. But I was talking about dinner. He said, Malik, finish your breakfast, dog, then we talk about lunch. So that's what I want y'all to do. Finish your breakfast, then we talk about lunch. And step 5, don't allow your mind to form judgments about people or situations you can't change, for it will drain your energy and make you less effective. I want you to watch something going into this week. And I'm going to do a show. I'm going to do a show. I'm doing my show with Jeff tomorrow. But then I'm going to do a show, okay? And I have some goals for this week. But I want y'all to watch something. Try not to change people, places, and things this week. And watch how more effective you're going to be. Listen, thanks for tuning in. Please follow us at convoswithmalik.com. If you haven't already and you're just my Facebook friend, please go over to Conversations with Malik Facebook page and you'll get all of the talks and the lectures. Listen, I love you guys. Peace and blessings. This is God has ordered me to do this. So this is why I'm doing this. I'm not getting paid for it. God just said to me, Malik, I provided you with a good life. You've been a good servant, and I help a lot of people, but I need you to reach more people and help more people. Peace and blessings. I'll see y'all later.